All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to explore the early life of Dr. A.P.J. Abdul Kalam. It's an absolutely incredible story of how a young boy growing up on the small, quiet island of Rameswaram eventually became one of India's most distinguished scientists and, of course, its visionary president. So let's get started.
When his friend Professor Arun Tiwari asks him to sum up his 82 years of life in just one single sentence, Kalam gave this beautiful, poetic answer. Just look at the progression there, from love to bitter struggle to sweet tears and finally ultimate fulfillment. It's basically a roadmap of his entire existence.
We are pulling these profound memories straight from his own book, My Journey, Transforming Dreams into Actions. I want you to just picture an older Kalam. He is standing in his garden in Delhi, under this massive, century-old Arjuna tree. He's watching the birds and bees, and in that quiet moment, he suddenly thinks of his father. And that's exactly where this whole reflection on his childhood begins.
Section 1. Dreams Under the Tree, A Father's Calm. Let's start with the first major milestone of his life. The first major influence on Kalam's life was definitely the steady presence of his dad, Jainul Abidin. As far back as Kalam could remember, his father's day started at 4 a.m. sharp. Well before the demands of a massive household could reach him, he'd walk 4 miles to his coconut grove. Kalam later realized that this daily routine, just listening to the sea and the waking birds, gave his dad this unbelievable sense of calm. It was a peacefulness that was instantly obvious even to total strangers.
And what's really fascinating is how that calm turned into real wisdom. His dad was the local mosque's imam and a simple boat owner with very little formal education or wealth. Yet people in distress came to him constantly. When a young Kalam asked why, his dad talked about introspection. He explained that hard times always present an opportunity to look inward. He taught Kalam that when you're suffering, looking inside yourself, instead of looking outside for help, is where true fulfillment and strength actually lie.
Section 2. Surviving the Storms, The Boat Builder. Now, this lesson of inner strength wasn't just a philosophy.
It was about to be severely tested by the totally relentless nature of the sea around their island. Kalam's father decided to build a wooden ferry boat to take pilgrims to Dhanushkodi to supplement their income. Honestly, this was Kalam's very first introduction to the world of engineering. He methodically watched his dad and his cousin Jalaluddin build this boat right there on the seashore, procuring wood, cutting it, seasoning it over wood fires. It was like a giant puzzle coming together. Years later, Kalam would use complex math to build the Agni and Prithvi missiles, but to him, watching that wooden boat take shape was just as momentous.
The boat business was a total hit, but then disaster struck. The Bay of Bengal is notorious for its cyclones, and one night a massive storm with 100-mile-per-hour winds devastated Rameswaram. In the flickering darkness, the family huddled together. The next morning, they discovered that their beautiful handcrafted boat was completely washed away. Young Kalam was absolutely crushed.
But here's the crucial part: how his father reacted. Instead of breaking down in despair, his dad showed incredible stoicism. He simply faced the reality of the sea and rebuilt the business. Seeing this taught Kalam an invaluable lesson. Decades later, whenever his rocket launches were disrupted by delays or literal storms, he remembered his father's face. He knew that when life's larger forces completely wreck our plans, the only way to survive is to face your troubles and rebuild.
Section 3. The Moving Train, A Working Boy at 8. Let's see how this resilient mindset played out during World War II.
During the war, things were tough and goods were strictly rationed. So, to help his struggling family, an 8-year-old Kalam took on a massive responsibility. I mean, just look at this daily hustle. Up before dawn for a bath, off to math tuition, back by 5 a.m., Arabic school, and then a literal sprint to the train station. Because of the wartime emergency, the train no longer stopped at Rameswaram. So, young Kalam had this incredibly intense job of catching bundles of newspapers that were just tossed out from the moving train.
After catching those bundles, he spent an hour sprinting all around town to deliver the paper. Then he went to school all day and finally collected dues in the evening. Even though he was practically passing out from physical exhaustion by 9 p.m. every night, he felt this immense pride. He was earning money and actively contributing to his household survival, all at just 8 years old.
Section 4. 3 Hearts, 1 Town. Harmony versus Division. Let's talk about the unique environment he grew up in.
While the outside world was being torn apart by global war and deep religious divides, Rameswaram was this crazy oasis of harmony, and it was fiercely protected by its leaders. The town had 3 spiritual elders: Kalam's father, the Imam, Pakshi Lakshmana Sastri, the Hindu priest, and Father Bodal, the Christian priest. Every single Friday evening, these 3 men, one in a turban, one in a dhoti, and one in a cassock, would sit down together. They met to resolve issues and actively clear up any rumors that could threaten the peace of their community.
But that harmony was eventually tested. When Kalam was in the 3rd grade, a new teacher arrived. He saw Kalam wearing his Muslim skullcap, sitting right next to his best friend, Ramanathan, who wore a Brahmin tuft. The teacher immediately separated them and sent Kalam to the back row. Both boys went home in tears. Well, the unifying elders swiftly intervened. Kalam's father and the Hindu priest summoned the teacher and firmly told him that the scourge of religious division would absolutely not be tolerated.
Confronted by this completely unified front, the teacher realized his mistake and fixed it the very next day. For Kalam, this incident was a game changer. It showed him firsthand that secularism and peace aren't just passive concepts. They require firm, open communication to protect the next generation. It taught him that inner convictions have to dictate our actions, not the divisive rules of society.
Section 5. A Mother's Sacrifice. Bitter tears, sweet tears. Behind all of his success, there was another quiet force.
And that was the profound love and sacrifice of his mother, Ashiyama. She was the bedrock of a massive household. Every single day she fed not just her large extended family, but countless guests as well. She did it all with deceptive simplicity, serving up rice, aromatic sambar, and coconut chutney on banana leaves. Kalam always remembered her cooking as a delicate balance of flavors, but more than anything, it was just filled with love. But during those strict WWI rationing days, something profound happened. One evening, an 8-year-old Kalam, starving from his newspaper runs, kept asking for more chapatis. His mom just kept rolling them out, and he happily ate them. But later that night, his older brother pulled him aside and scolded him for the very first time. Why?
His brother revealed a truly heartbreaking truth. There was barely enough food for everyone. The women were actually sacrificing their own nutrition for the kids because Kalam kept eating. His mother had given him her own meager rations, meaning she was going to sleep completely hungry. That moment broke young Kalam's heart. He cried those bitter tears he mentioned earlier, just mortified by his own blindness. It was a lifelong lesson in selflessness.
Decades later, standing under that grand Arjuna tree in Delhi, the 82-year-old visionary wrote a poem to the tree. He imagined the tree speaking right back to him, saying, "I know, my friend, the thoughts in your mind. What can I give?" And really, that question defined his whole life. He realized his life wasn't built on privilege or wealth, but on the enduring strength and quiet generosity passed down by his early mentors.
Which brings us to the end of this explainer, and I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. If a young boy from the sleepy island of Ramaswaram can harness his everyday struggles, devastating literal storms, and the quiet sacrifices of his family to eventually touch the stars, where are you looking for the strength to realize your dreams?